They pull their guns and they get the guards on the ground. We robbed this place. Why would you rob a place? President Clinton actually signed an executive order saying, hey, this is Matt Cox, and I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys what's going on with the true crime front right now, what I'm doing, and all the different projects, where all my projects are, and what are the things that I'm doing to kind of advance those projects, to let you know that I'm not like just sleeping in late and goofing off and doing nothing. I'm actually actively trying to get my true crime stories, not my story, but the ones I've written, my true crime stories and books and everything, I'm actually trying to get them turned into documentaries, docudramas, or they call them hybrids, or series, films, streaming series, films, the whole thing. So I'm making an attempt to do all of that. And so I wanted to let everybody know what's going on. But before we get into all that, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, leave a comment. All right, here's what's going on. I have to get some coffee. I can only imagine Colby must think like, this guy's drank like 10 cups of coffee. I really haven't. I think this is probably my fourth cup of coffee today. But it is early. I think what time is it? It's almost 11 o'clock. I have to do all these videos early because I have to go see my mom. Basically, I'm working on, what I've got right now is I have 3 of my stories that I'm working on, and the companies that I'm working with, like all the production companies, the directors and producers, they are so super secretive. Like they're like, don't tell anybody this, don't do that. The only one that basically I think the cat's out of the bag is John Boziak's, because everybody knows I'm working with John Boziak. We shot like 5 days of footage of John Boziak. Like we shot this whole thing, right, of John Boziak up in North Florida. This was several months ago. And Boziak's story is called Bent, but I think that they may or may not call it Ghetto White Boy. And I say that because that's kind of like what they kept saying, Ghetto White Boy. And when they do this snap, that little thing, they kept, it said Ghetto White Boy, and they're like, well, we're not sure that's the name. We're not sure. I think that is the name. We all refer to it as Ghetto White Boy. Plus, what's great about Boziak is over on his stomach, like right there, it actually says Ghetto White Boy. And if you read his book or his story or anything, I talk about it, all the tattoos and everything. So essentially, here's what happened. We've already shot the sizzle reel for him, and it's being put together right now. And honestly, it was supposed to be done. It was actually done a couple weeks ago, and they're recutting it. From what I saw, it was amazing. Now, let me explain what a sizzle reel is. A sizzle reel, typically the way it works is like, let's say you go to someone like Apple. You go into Apple and you say, hey, listen, I have an idea. You walk in there with a treatment. Treatment's just a basic concept. I heard something. You walk in with a treatment. A treatment's just a basic concept. And it's like, hey, this is what the story's going to, John Boziak was, he was raised on the streets of, a homeless kid raised on the streets of Miami. He ends up, making, carding, and carding turns into counterfeiting, and he sells, $3.5 million to the Russian mob in counterfeit. He goes to prison, whatever. You give a basic summary of the story. You also walk in with what they call a Bible. And a Bible, or like a deck page or a Bible, it basically breaks down like all the characters, like what the overall arc of the story is. It also will break down, like in a documentary, it'll say like who you're going to interview and who those people are and have they agreed to be interviewed. And some, it goes on and on. It talks about the backstory, talks about just the whole feel for the film itself. Typically you would go into someone like Apple or Netflix or Hulu, one of the streaming series, if that's where you hope to end up. It could be FX, it could be any of the networks, right? So you go in there, you go into the meeting and you say, the meeting, and you go, look, here's what we've got, and you show them all your stuff. And if they say, you know what, that's a great idea, we're really interested in that, they give you a budget to go make a sizzle reel. Sizzle reel is basically like a trailer, only a trailer is what you send out to the public after the movie or film is made to generate interest and get people to want to watch it. A sizzle is what you make before the actual film or documentary, whatever, is made. So you go out and you kind of shoot a little bit. You shoot a scene here and a scene here and a scene here, and you put it together and you come back and you say, so this is basically what we're going for. And you show them, you show the executives or whoever's making that decision, you show them your sizzle reel. And sizzle reel is only 3 or 4 minutes. Typical trailer is 1.5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. Sizzle reel's typically 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes at most. And so you show them your sizzle reel. And if they look at it and they go, yeah, I like the way you did that. I like the feel of that. I get what the guys look like. I see where you're going with this. It makes a lot of sense. Kind of like when you watch a trailer. You watch a trailer and you go, oh, I get it. I see what the movie's like. I understand the look of it, the feel of it. So you do that. Oh, excuse me. Bless me. Oh. All right. Yeah, I don't know if you should cut that out or not. I don't know. Do what you want to do. If the network or streaming series, whatever, if they like your sizzle reel, they say, okay, well, what do you need? You go, oh, it's a documentary, and I need $1 million to shoot a 30-minute or 1-hour documentary. Okay, fine. If they say, oh, no, it's going to be a hybrid. We're going to have reenactments and actors, and it's going to be a 3-part series or whatever. We need $10 million. They go, okay. Or if you say, look, it's going to be a big budget thing, and we're going to have Bradley Cooper in it. We're going to have, all of these guys and Leonardo DiCaprio's in it and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to go, they're going to say, look, we need $50 million. Okay, fine. Well, I'm not trying to get Leonardo DiCaprio or Bradley Cooper. What we're trying to do is get sizzle reels put together so that we can then go and pitch them. The thing that bothers me about the idea of the sizzle reel is that typically you have to get a meeting at one of these places and get the okay from them. Then they give you a small budget. Then you go make the sizzle reel. Then you go back. Like, that's a whole 6-month process right there. So I don't want to wait that long. And I wasted enough time in prison. So I basically convinced the production company to put up their own money to go and start shooting some of these. So I've got 2 different production companies. One production company has already shot 1 sizzle reel, and they're shooting another sizzle reel soon. I can't say which story. I mean, obviously Bent, Boziak's story. I mean, I think Boziak said it on 4 or 5 different a podcast that he was on, and I think he and I even had a conversation, very brief conversation. But bottom line is, the sizzle reel has been shot for Bent or Get a White Boy. There's another story I have, great story, and one of my favorite stories. Supposedly, we're going to be doing doing a sizzle reel on that one. I would say that. Let's see. So I've got another production company. So we're talking about multiple production companies. We're now talking about 2 or 3 different production companies. So I have another production company which I met with, and I convinced these guys to put up the money for another one of my stories that I think is a great story, which once again, during the conversation, they were like, look, don't put anything else out about this. We don't want anybody to know, blah, blah, blah. Let's wait till we're further on. Let's wait till we actually get our budget approved. We get this, we get that. That's assuming all of that happens. There's no guarantee any of these happen. But I can't imagine that these guys are putting up $20,000 and $30,000 to shoot sizzle reels because they don't think it's going to happen. Well, anyway, one of the true crime stories is I talked to the director several times. We've kind of hammered out basically what the sizzle reel is going to look like. We're writing kind of a storyboard. You still end up writing a little screenplay, based on the sizzle. Like, what scenes do you want? And the scenes are so super quick. They're just like 2 seconds here, 4 seconds here. This is a 15-second. This is 6 seconds. Like boom, 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 boom. Ends up making up a whole thing. B-roll, and you end up with what really looks like a trailer for a movie that's never been done, which is great. I'm working on, so basically that's 3 different stories I have that are currently that's what's being done. Now, one of the stories I'm so pumped about, I was contacted by a screenwriter, and I've been contacted by screenwriters before, And this guy contacted me and he was like, look, this is who I am. This is what I've done. Like I haven't done a whole bunch. I don't have a huge portfolio, but I love the story and here's how I see it. Here's what I like. So I contacted the director of one of the production companies and we talked about it. And he was like, look, so we all had a meeting and we had a meeting and we're moving forward with it for a series based on one of my books. And we're already writing a 3 pilot, the first three episodes, which are basically like 3 pilots. And we're taking the story and we're going through and we're breaking it apart to see if we can get a whole series out of this. Like the typical book, a typical 300 page book is literally between 10 to 20 hours worth of film time. That's why whenever you read a book and then you see the movie, you're like, man, it's nothing like the book, or they left out all this other stuff. Well, yeah, but because you don't want to sit there for 10 hours. They only have 2 hours. They have to trim it down, or they combine scenes, or they combine characters. That's why it's always based on a true story, because they can't do the true story unless they want to do a 10-part series. I'm starting to write a series with a screenwriter based on one of my books. I think that's going to be super cool. I can't wait till I can talk about that. And that's probably not going to be able to talk about that for about 6 months. So that's working. I'm also working. I've spoken with another guy that is interested in pitching. He's interested in pitching me being the host of I would be the host of like a true crime series. Also, I'm still working with Davey Rothbart. He's going through some issues with his family. He has an elderly father, and there's some issues there. And so these guys are pitching that true crime podcast. So I'm working on a bunch of different stuff right now. All of them. Oh, and this is the one that's killing me. So there's a guy named John Long. All right. John Long he's a member of what's called it's a triad, right? So I forget the name of the triad. Anyway, it's called the Red Door. It's a Red Door triad. And triads are like gangs, only that they're a gang, like it's a Chinese gang but they're like international. It's not like it's the Crips and they're in a bunch of states and it's a loose, these are a pretty tight-knit gang of Chinese. Well, back in the early 90s, listen, according to what I've read, and according to a buddy of mine in federal prison is named Rossini, who was very good friends with John Long. And I've read a whole bunch of articles on it, and I'm going to tell you what my issue, why I haven't been able to move forward with it, even though it's an amazing story, is that, okay, here's what Long did. According to Long, and according to the transcripts and everything else that Rossini said he saw, which I haven't gotten to see yet because of COVID, because they're completely shut down in California and I can't order any, I've got the docket sheet, but I can't order any of the transcripts. I even had someone contact, I even had a guy that's helping me do research. He tried to get them. He contacted, not only did he contact the clerk's office, but he also contacted a company that actually goes in downtown and goes through the files or goes through the archives to try and get this stuff. Couldn't get it. I went to Long's lawyer, and she said she was going to send me she was going to send me a disc with all of his discovery on it. I never got it. When I contacted her, she was like, oh, I mailed it. She said, I mailed it. I said, well, can you mail another copy? And she said, no, I mailed you the original. Why would you do that? What are you, an idiot? Regardless, so I never got his discovery, which I really need. So I'm gonna have to order it from when COVID's over or California comes to their senses. Here's what John Long did. John Long was contacted by supposedly an official from the Chinese government, which I love this part. This was back in the early 90s when home computers were just coming out. So home computers are just coming out and China is making home computers. The problem is they're having problems manufacturing the microchips. So Chinese officials who basically are manufacturers, right? So every manufacturing company in China is partially owned by the government. So basically, Chinese officials come and they come to the triad. They go to the Red Door triad. They contact like the top dogs there, and they say, "Look, we need these computer chips." Now, the places that make the computer chips, because they're not really valuable to anybody but manufacturers, they're not heavily guarded. We need you guys to steal these chips. And if you steal 100,000 of this Pentium whatever microchip, we'll give you, and that is worth they're worth like $10 million. We'll give you $2 million. I mean, think about it, to a triad member, he's like, even if he thinks it's worth 10 million, I mean, what is it to him? It's me and a couple of my guys just have to go break in this place and get that for 2 million. That's worth it. Well, the leader of the triad he thinks, well, who can I get to do this operation? He goes to John Long. John Long puts together a team of guys. He puts together like 6 to 8 guys, and they start staking out computer chip manufacturing companies in the United States. They would stake it out for a couple of days. They then pull up in nice vehicles with nice tailored suits. They get out just as the place is closing. So basically everybody's left except for a few security guards and 4 or 5 workers. They've been watching the place for 5, 6 days, maybe a week. So they know who's there. So they come in very, hi, we're with the Chinese delegation we're looking at this, or we're with this group, but we're, businessmen. We're thinking about this. We're looking for Mr. So-and-so. Oh, I'm sorry, he's not here. Well, they let them in. As soon as they get in the door, they pull their guns, get on the ground. They zip tie everybody. They tie them up. They go through they then get walked through the whole place. And as they're walking with somebody who's there, in business suits, they're walking through the warehouse or the manufacturing plant. As they come up on guards, they pull their guns and they get the guards on the ground. So they then bring everybody together, and then they tell whoever's there, they say, we need 100,000 of these chips. They bring them to the warehouse, they get the chips, they load them up in a couple of vans, they drive off. Then they would go meet that Chinese official in some parking lot. And literally, here's the van. The guy would open a couple boxes. He'd hand over, and Long was like, they literally would hand us like a briefcase with $2 million. They hand us the briefcase, they jump in the van, they take off. That's it. Well, this guy did a couple dozen of these things over the next 18 months. It was so bad that President Clinton actually signed an executive order saying that all computer chip manufacturers had to start having armed guards. Once that happened, Long starts hitting. So then they're like, this is going to be a problem. So now they start coming in heavy with AK-47s. I mean, now but they're still going after the chips. Then they end up hitting like convoys of trucks, right? So they're loading up trucks, and they would find out which trucks are being loaded, and they'd pull them over on the side of the interstate and they'd rob them. And this goes on and on. Eventually there's like a murder. The FBI gets involved. They track down everybody. They wiretap everybody. There's a huge investigation. They eventually grab Long. Long didn't kill anybody. John Long didn't kill anybody. Another guy killed someone in the course of one of these, not in the course of one of Long's robberies that he was setting up, but while they're staking out one of the warehouses, there's 4 or 5 guys staking out the warehouse. And after a couple of days, they go, they notice that there's a jeweler not far from their hotel. And they start watching him, and they think, we could break in there and steal all the jewelry. So they end up breaking in the place. They go to the guy's house. They follow him home. They break into his house. They get him to open up the safe. They get jewelry. And in the course of this whole thing, they end up shooting the guy's brother-in-law who happened to be at his house. And he dies. There's this massive investigation. They eventually get everybody involved, because during the struggle, one of the guys who's staking out the jewelry place and the computer chip manufacturer, he gets shot. So now we've got a guy that's shot. Well, when he gets shot, and they shoot the brother-in-law of the jewelry owner of the jewelry owner's brother-in-law, they bring the guy, the triad member that got shot. They bring him to Long, and they're like, look, What are we going to do? So now Long's got to find somebody to help him. He's like, what happened? What happened? Oh, we robbed this place. Why would you rob a place? You're supposed to be you're in a hotel room staking out a computer manufacturer. What are you guys doing? So it's just this massive, just cluster. You know what I'm saying? I can't cuss because of the algorithm. It just, the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing falls apart. And anyway, Long ends up getting indicted. Listen, this guy was, because they'd been robbing they've been robbing in multiple states, computer chip manufacturers in multiple different states. So he has indictments in like 5 or 6 different states, in New York and Florida and California and Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, he's got them everywhere. And so he spent about 4 years fighting all of these different cases. Ultimately, he really ended up with like 140 years and like 2 life sentences or something ridiculous like that. And, you know, he's never getting out of prison. Like, he's still fighting his case, and he's not going to get out of prison. But I want to put that whole story together because it's an amazing story, and I think it'd be great. However, the issue is I've been trying to put it together for a year now. And the problem is that COVID has everything shut down, so I can't get the transcripts. I can't get the stipulation of facts. I can't get the indictments. I can't order anything at this moment. I just can't. There's nothing I can really order because every time I try and contact these people, the clerk's office is closed in California. I think ultimately I'm going to put that story together. I think it's a great story. I don't think it's a whole book. I think it's a very large synopsis. I think if I can get the transcripts, I can really kind of, I already got all the articles, but if I can get the transcripts, then I can really pull some great information out of the transcripts, because, you know, the prosecutors really take these guys right through their whole, the whole thing. And a lot of people cooperated. So a lot of guys are going to get on the stand and tell the story. This is what happened. This was what I did. This is what so-and-so did. So they'll tell that story. And out of that story and the articles, I should be able to put together a great synopsis of the story, which is the bulk of what my stuff is based on. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm excited about that. I think, I just want to let everybody know, you know, I just wanted to let everybody catch up and say, hey, look, I see you're not just painting, but you're doing other stuff. I am doing other stuff. It's difficult. I mean, I work 60 to 80 hours a week. I'll wake up, go work out, come back, paint for a while. I'll go see my mom. I'll come back. I'll paint more. Sometimes I'm painting until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, I paint. I do research, I do videos, I do podcasts, I have to mail stuff out. I mean, I got a ton of stuff to do, but I'm definitely still working on the true crime front. Obviously, I've got a lot of stuff going. It takes a long time, but I'm definitely moving forward, along that trail. Let's go with trail. All right, that's it. So if you like the video, do me a favor and subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave me a comment, and see you.